Hey everybody, welcome back to Mental Health on the Mic. I'm Bennett.
And I'm Lorraine.
And Lorraine, I'm very excited about this week's episode. And
Yeah.
I'm really liking my shirt. I don't know if anybody
Oh my
is watching
God,
this
where'd
on
you get
YouTube.
that? It looks amazing on you.
I wonder who got it for me. You couldn't see the wink if you're listening. But you may know about my obsession with Peppa Pig. And I
Mhm.
think that this shirt is easier if you just go and watch on YouTube, Mental Health on the Mic. You can see what this is. It's Peppa's face with many different emotions, and we're talking about feelings. I thought it was fitting.
Right.
Um, we love Peppa, don't we?
We do. She's amazing. Love the show. An iconic figure. So,
Yes. Now back to Mental Health on the Mic. If you're new to our show, you can check us out Instagram or TikTok at Mental Health on the Mic, mentalhealthonthemic.com, and we are basically a platform for anybody who is struggling with anything. And I know that's very broad, but our goal is to provide a safe space for anyone and everyone. I mean, we want to create conversations on this show that can hopefully pertain to everybody and just kind of spreading a message that you're not alone and that we're all in this together. And, we've had a variety of conversations, we've had a variety of guests. And this week, Lorraine, it's just the two of us because it's fun when we
yeah.
catch up. I mean, that's how we started and we have guests, but today's a chance for us to kind of chat and just talk about where we are at mentally and get into that. So, just opening up the dialogue, I mean, it's been a minute. So, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. I think I'm at a pivotal time, per se, if you want to call it that, with high school. Um, if you're in high school, you know that the spring is very chaotic. There's a lot of sports going on. There's finals, exams, and you're kind of just waiting for the end of the year to happen. And it feels like this long haul. So for me personally, AP exams are next week. So for students who are enrolled in AP class, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a stressful time, but it's also a good feeling knowing that when all that's done, everything will kind of slow down and all the pressure and all the stress will kind of just go away. So it's kind of just prep time for that. So it's a little busy, but we're hanging in there.
I feel like I read your mind. I thought you were going to say hanging in there. We're
Really?
telepathically.
Good. How
I
are you, Bennett?
I'm good. I'll talk about you first and then I'll talk about me. I was just going to say that I
Okay.
feel like it's almost like this season's this journey kind of coincides with your life journey because I remember just us starting the season, you talking about, I guess work was picking up in school. And then the further we got into the season, obviously, the more you had going on with school. And now you're kind of at that
Right.
pivotal point. And as we reach our season finale, which we're excited about, you're kind of at this point where, I mean, you got a lot going on.
Hmm.
I know that it's stressful, but the good news
Yeah.
is that you're almost there. You're getting close to the
Right.
finish line. Um,
Yeah.
by the way, just on a random note, we had our first in-person podcast last time, and that was so fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was so fun. It was so weird because, this was kind of our layout. It was you on my computer, you on my left, I'm on the right, and then we're just like two separate boxes. But then last episode,
You're right here in
I
my
was right
studio.
there.
Yeah, I still have your mic set up. Remember, we had to add this little
I
thing,
know
this
we
little
like had to
contraption.
like jury rig the whole studio set up so that I can be right next to you. But it was so cool being in that studio, recording with you and having little earbuds in and just like being side by side. It was a really cool experience.
And the last minute technological having to figure everything out, things I were not expecting to have to figure out. I learned a lot just from a technical standpoint. But anyway,
Yeah.
y'all are here to listen to us talk about mental health. So yeah, but to answer your question about how I'm doing, I'm doing well. I was really good and then I wasn't good and now I'm better. And kind of I guess the story of that is that I've been feeling very content in my life and very happy with where I'm at. Um, while I'm not quite at the level of rigor that you all know. In fact, if anything, it's kind of my journey too, as far as I started going back to school right around the
Mhm.
time that this season started, and I'm getting close to the end there. And I got my
Wow.
first B, which I'm very open about my grades. It's not private to me, and I'm not really, I don't know. I struggle in school, so an environment where getting an A is the norm and anything else is there's just like crazy high standards. But I don't worry about that. I just focus on myself and getting a B.
There
Getting
you
my first B
go.
felt like a big deal. But God.
This
um,
is what everyone in Bennett's life has to deal with every day is like the puns.
uh, um,
Um, but it's kind of cool how we're kind of like where we started the season and now where we are now.
yeah,
Kind of crazy how much time has passed and like where we are.
I know it kind of flew by. Yeah, even our conversation that we did record last week with Jared, if you haven't listened to it, Jared, he hosts his own mental health podcast, My Mate's Mental Health, which you should totally check out.
I
Search it
love
up
it.
on Apple
Love it. The
Podcasts and
accent, the
Spotify.
whole vibe is just
He's from
perfect.
Australia, so yeah, accent vibes. Registered nurse, correctional officer, and is host of his own mental health podcast. What more could
I
you
know,
want?
it's crazy. He does so much.
And he was so
So
great. You
much.
should totally check that out. The episode is just called Jared. Look for Mental Health on the Mic wherever you listen to your podcast. You will find it there. And I kind of feel like we're all over the place, but that's okay because that's just real. That's how we do.
That's how we are. We're very fluid, very it just flows. It just whatever
Yeah,
happens, happens.
it's
So,
easy. Like us, just even virtually, it's
yeah.
easy. All right. So yeah. So anyway, so we're right. So school was going pretty well, and like I'm kind of getting back into a routine and everything. But I started vision therapy. I don't know if I told this story yet on the show, but I kind of going hand in hand with school. I struggle a lot with learning differences, and
Mhm.
um, I my mom has a friend who is a parent of a student that used to go to my elementary school, and she, I guess, kept in touch with my mom. And this woman does work relating to helping students with reading struggles, and
Mhm.
I've always had a hard time with reading comprehension. I love biographies and nonfiction, but when it comes to reading stories, I like have a really hard time processing what's going on. I can read the words, but I can't remember,
Mhm.
key pieces of information, which made literature classes really hard. I can write well, but reading is a whole different story. And so I went to this woman, a couple months ago, and at first I thought maybe we'd work on the reading comprehension, but then she told me that I should get a vision test, and I'm thinking, why vision? And apparently, uh, the way that I guess, I mean, I feel smart enough to even fully understand what she told me, but either it was either decoding or encoding. Like your eyes do a lot of work when they're reading because your eyes are obviously
Mhm.
what you use to read, but apparently there was something wrong. There was something not right with how my eyes were working with the paper or whatever. So I
Right.
got a bunch of testing done at this, little private practice, if you will. And they found that I have double vision and I have uh, I don't know what it's called. I think it might be called monocular disparity. I could be wrong. But
Okay.
my eyes aren't working together. They are essentially competing. So one eye tries to read everything and the other one just isn't doing anything when in reality they should be working together because it would make
Right.
it a lot easier. So what I was told is that I've been working way too hard my whole life with things like reading because my eyes are competing. So bottom line is that I started this vision therapy and it's like this huge commitment. So I go from living for 21 years, not even knowing this is an issue for me, to all of a sudden being told I have to do something twice a week for 8 months, minus whatever vacations I want to take. But the commitment really stressed me out. And when I got to my first session a couple days ago, I felt really, um, it brought up a lot of old feelings of inferiority because I've had so many learning struggles throughout my whole life, and I would always have to go to these different specialists and tutors, and I always felt like something was wrong with me. So it stirred up a lot of those old childhood feelings on top
Mhm.
of like not wanting to make the time commitment, which is very frustrating. I get home, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to quit. Just a very like pessimistic attitude. You and I had a conversation actually. You always
Yeah.
know how to cheer me up. I mean, I'm still
Mm.
like, I was frustrated about it. But then I had a really, I think, transformative therapy session the other day. So I had vision therapy, and then an hour later, I get on my Zoom call with my therapist,
Mm.
and um, I was telling him about how this stirred up all these different childhood feelings, and how I just felt like inferior, and I also talked about how I feel like I'm behind everybody because like most kids my age are a year away from graduating college, and I see LinkedIn, they're all having these internships, and I feel like everybody around me is doing all these things, and like all I'm doing is getting my eyes that are messed up fixed. Like this idea of being messed up or broken, which is I think something a lot of people can relate to at some point in their lives. And so He came up with this idea to write down sentences that I actually know I could not genuinely believe. Like I could say them out loud, but I couldn't actually believe them myself. So the sentences were, I am strong, I am capable, I am intelligent, and I am independent. Those were 4 sentences that I could literally not say truthfully because I felt weak, I felt incapable, I felt unintelligent, and I felt dependent. Um,
Mhm.
Dependency, the fact that I still live with my parents and don't have a full time job, and then I feel like I don't have my life fully together, and intelligence, like I don't know, I've always struggled in school, so I feel like I don't understand math and science, makes me feel dumb. Capabilities, the fact that I'm in this vision therapy makes me feel like I'm lacking just a normal capability that we all have. Just this feeling of lacking regularly working eyes, and then, I feel weak at the end of all of this. So then I got an idea to come up with sort of a goal oriented like plan worksheet of all the things that I have achieved, the little steps, and I kind of realized, oh, like I am on my way to being independent. I am, maybe I am smart because I may not be intelligent in this way, but I might be in that way. For example, in my psychology class, we learned about this theorist named Howard Gardner who had the theory of multiple intelligences, which is that
Mhm.
there's like, he broke it down into like 7 or 8 different intelligences. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there's spatial intelligence, which is noticing how objects move around you. There's bodily kinesthetic intelligence, which is your physical intelligence. Are you athletic? Can you dance? Whatever, movement. And then there's logical, mathematical, and all these different subsections of intelligence where maybe I lack sort of the smarts to be a math whiz, but I personally think that one of the intelligences that Howard came up with that I identify with is interpersonal intelligence, which is, without trying to toot my own horn, kind of understanding people's emotions. And
Mhm.
like careers representative of that would be a social worker, a salesperson, a counselor, a therapist, which are actually
Right.
all careers I've considered. So I started thinking about that, and then I felt better. And end of the day is I felt a lot better about myself. So I kind of wanted to share that anecdote because I kind of started off feeling weak and feeling inferior, but then I kind of realized through some transformative work with my therapist that, maybe I might have flaws, I might have things that I'm not perfect at, but really I
Mhm.
think we all have to
We
recognize that
all
it's
do.
okay to not be perfect at everything.
No, it's totally right. Like at the end of the day, we are our own individual, and as individuals, we have strengths that others might not possess as much, and we might have weaknesses that others might not have. And so it's just kind of that's kind of what makes you you. And I think once you realize that and accept them, but also view the weaknesses as not like, oh, I'm weak, but more so that's not my alley, that's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some things you just can't control, and other things like you're doing like your eye therapy, that is something that can potentially help you and make things like reading easier, and it'll really serve you well in life. So I'm very proud of you for taking those steps.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think sometimes it takes other people, whether it be a therapist or a podcast co-host, to kind of, I don't know, ring you back in. Like
Yeah,
we all need
no, it
those. We
takes a
all have
lot.
those moments.
Yeah, it takes a lot to kind of open your eyes to that and not just feel like, oh, I'm not there. I am not at the place that other people are, so I feel like I'm
Hmm.
behind. But and otherwise, we all just have different paths.
Right.
Like, so what if like someone else is not going to vision therapy? Like, it's your life. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It just means that's something that you know you're
Hmm.
taking care of for yourself, and something that you didn't really have control of in the beginning, but now you're taking control of now, and you're gonna come out on the better side of it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if, I think we all probably can, but do you identify at all with like the feeling sometimes of, having to
Oh
kind of
yeah,
figure out that you have strengths and weaknesses?
all the time. I like for me in school, being in a classroom environment, I don't think I've ever really touched on this yet in the podcast, but more and more I'm realizing how much I compare. When I'm in that classroom, there's 10, 15 other students in there, and sometimes I feel like I'm the weakest one.
Mm.
Like I'm the weak link, like I'm the grunt. Is that what it's called? the runt of the litter. Like in dogs, there's always like the
Oh.
small one, like the little runt who's like
Mm.
really small compared to the rest
Oh.
of them. So I kind of feel like that in my head sometimes. I feel like I'm not as good as my other fellow classmates, whether that's a test score or we're doing a lesson and I'm kind of panicking inside because I don't really understand it, but everyone else seems to kind of understand it. And those are just based assumptions, but I think that feeling is in everyone. I think it's natural to feel that way. But then, like you said, it's good to have those people in your life, like a therapist or a friend or a counselor or a mental health podcast, whatever you need to kind of tell you that it's okay to feel those things, but that you aren't worth any less than someone else or that you're inferior or whatever.
It's so important to have good support systems around you, whatever they may be, because we all need that. I mean, I think, we probably are all programmed to not just know. I mean, unless it's like narcissism or whatever, we don't just know that we're great. We kind of need people to tell us, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I think there's a balance between knowing that you can achieve great things and having other people lift you up because we all get down.
Yeah.
And it's hard too because I think that it comes from a place of feeling flawed, and it's not always fun to share flaws, and so it can be challenging, I think, right, to share with other people. I mean, even if you can confide in them and trust them, it probably feels vulnerable, and it makes you maybe even feel more of those feelings of feeling small or inferior when you have to tell somebody, you know, I feel weak, I feel
Yeah.
small.
You're opening up this whole other part of you that has these emotions building and building and building and building. And they're very personal and they're very like inner struggles that you have with yourself. And then when you go and tell someone else that and like open the door for them to see that, it's very vulnerable and it's scary. But if you can find that one person that you're able to do that with, it'll make all the difference because sometimes that person can see more than what you're seeing in yourself.
That's true. It's so powerful. Like that's what I experienced with my therapist. And I think when we have conversations off the mic, like we help each other, you know, and
Oh yeah, oh my God. There's like days where like I'm going through it, I'm in the dumps, I'm in the gutter, and Bennett's over here with a ray of sunshine just like
uh,
shining light over me. And there's days where you're in the rain and there's clouds and you can't see the rainbow, but then I'm coming around with the rainbow and like we have that, but that's exactly what a good friendship relationship with someone is. It's lifting each other up when the other person's down and always doing that for each other. It's not one-sided, it's both because
right,
everyone goes through those times and everyone deserves to have that person.
right. You killed it with the metaphor. Got that
This is like
metaphor.
this is throwback to like we did the episode with just us in season 2
Hmm.
where I had all these like metaphors coming up under
I
my
know.
sleeve. It's
Yeah.
coming back, baby. It's coming back.
Yeah. Speaking of like having support and stuff, my mom showed me this Facebook post and I actually thought it was pretty good. She's like, you should talk about this on the show. I thought it was.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who it was, and nor would I want to, like publicly reveal this person's name, but a parent that was opening up on Facebook about not knowing how to get through to their kid who was struggling. And so I'm going to read it. It says, I can tell something is bugging my 18-year-old. He brushed off my face-to-face inquiry. It's so hard as a parent to know the next step or words after those awkward teenage interactions. But I thought I'd share the words I did offer. He softened and eventually came upstairs and admitted something is bugging him, but he's not ready to talk. I don't always have the words, so I thought I'd offer these that seem to soften the awkwardness in this moment today. Godspeed, my adolescent parenting partners. It ain't easy. Love and vulnerability win. So the mom sends a text to her kid. It says, maybe I'm just being an overbearing, annoying mom, but it seems like something might be bothering you, and I just never want to be the person who ignores and doesn't lean into another person's possible discomfort. I don't need to know any details. I just want you to always know someone cares enough to try and notice and listen if needed. Love you. And then the kid writes back, thank you, love you too. And got all kinds of outpour of comments that probably went viral because everybody thought it was great that the mom was able to be so honest with her kid. And I think regardless, like if you're a teenager, obviously it's kind of our target audience. You might
Yeah.
relate. I don't know if you ever had a conversation like that with any of your parents or just a close person or a person who's close to you, but I think that knowing that you have somebody there for you, like it's those it's those efforts that we question, like, should we reach out to somebody and be there for them? We're like, should we? Will it be received well? And I think in this case it was received well. Like the kid really felt valued and seen. And I think when we are vulnerable and we don't want to admit it ourselves, it takes those other people who are willing to lift us up when we're not so strong, and they help us kind of open up, because it's so important, right? Like, talking about your problems makes all the difference in the world, and it would prevent so many tragedies. I mean, first, the main one that comes to mind is suicide. Like, if
Right.
people talked about their feelings, then those who were in a tougher mental state, who didn't have the strength, didn't have the right people around them, or they had the right people around them, but they didn't know how to talk. That's why we got to spread a message of positivity. We have to do everything we can to encourage others to be
Yeah.
open about their mental health, because I think, there's leaders and there's followers, and that's not to shame the follower, but the follower doesn't always know how to lead. The follower doesn't always know how to speak up for themselves, and so they need a leader. So, hopefully we can be those leaders, but we're not the only leaders. We don't claim to
No.
be. It's like we said to Jared, who has his own mental health podcast, on the last episode. The more of this stuff, the better. The more opportunities to learn from mental health professionals, which again, we do not claim to be, but we would love to help you. And the guests that we have, we'd like to think can help you. And Lorraine, right? I mean, it's so important that we kind of keep this train going of like, let's encourage speaking up about how you feel, because it can make all the difference in the world.
No, yeah, life is so precious. It you have one, and even if you don't see it, your life matters to so many people around you.
Yeah.
And when you don't take your mental health seriously, when you don't um put it as a top priority,
Yeah.
and you're really in that bad space when you're questioning continuing life or not, it's just what we're doing here today and what so many other people are doing with advocating and spreading awareness for mental health. It's so important that we have more people in this community, because we're doing we're really helping those people out.
Right. What I would say is, because this episode was a little bit more of an aside from our typical routine, and again, we do enjoy having these chances for the two of us to just catch up and talk, but I would encourage anybody listening who is struggling or who wants to kind of know more about who we are to go back and listen to some of our other episodes, because, again, this one's a little shorter. It's kind of more of just a chance for us to catch up, but whether it's our interviews or other conversations that the two of us have had, I mean, we really care about helping people. And, I don't say that to try and prove a point. I just say it to emphasize that we really do care. And, we don't know exactly who's listening or who's watching, but I always try to imagine that somebody's looking at our YouTube page right now or listening to us who is struggling. And what do? We want to be a voice for them. We want to represent them well. So
Yeah.
I take a lot of pride in that. And I also, as we're approaching the finale, which is next week, which, we'll kind of have a chance to kind of wrap up our season. But I just want to say now, I have so much gratitude for you, Lorraine, because the conversations we have, you teach me a lot, and you offer so much wisdom and impart so much of your perspectives on to our listeners and viewers. And I'm very proud to work with you on this. So, and I say this to you off camera, but I also thought I would say it on camera. Um, so, any closing thoughts?
No, I every time I bring up that I do this podcast, whether it's to a family friend, to a classmate, to a teacher, um, I always say I'm so proud to be a part of this, because it's something that in the beginning, season two, like I had no clue how to podcast. I didn't know how to, I've never done anything like this before, let alone a podcast that's this really positive space and that talks about deep topics, but also is about uplifting at the same time. And I kind of just went full throttle, not knowing what to expect. But after every single episode that I've done with you, I've become more and more proud of what we're doing, and more proud and so grateful that I reached out in the first place, because if I hadn't, I would have missed out on this amazing thing that we're doing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I really think that we are making a difference just having these episodes out there for the world to listen or to watch. And I bet you that there's people watching this, like you said, that we are helping. And to me, that makes my heart very happy. So, and it's been wonderful working with you. Like, you are amazing. You have the natural skill of doing this. Everyone knows that. Like, put a crown on your head. Like, it's true. So I think doing this with you has been so smooth, so easy, fun, and heartwarming, and gives me a lot of gratitude every day. I wake up and I'm like, mental health on the mic.
By the way, we're not going anywhere. This isn't over. It's just I thought.
I know I'm getting sentimental though now, because
no, I'm not telling you. I'm telling listeners. Like, this isn't a goodbye.
It's not goodbye. I'm just expressing how much this entire podcast and this entire experience so far has been amazing for me. So
well, I wouldn't have wanted to share this experience with anybody else. And if you want to kind of get the backstory on how we even paired up in the first place, I would say go listen to our episodes, because like
we're not
going to tell you right now.
Episode 1.
Listen to season 2 and watch how our sort of journey progressed, as far as Lorraine being on one episode and then another, and then my permanent co-host.
Oh my god!
Just this is us enticing you to just go back and catch up and listen to all the episodes you haven't listened to or watched. If you haven't,
it's worth it.
It is worth it. And anything that you want to find for Mental Health on the Mic, you can go to mentalhealthonthemic.com. You can follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Mental Health on the Mic. Thank you guys so much. And by the way, we have a really cool finale coming up next week. We've got a great guest.
Stay tuned.
Now we're going to wrap things up some more. We're going to get even more sentimental, I think, and between our amazing guest and our chance to reflect, I think it's going to be one for the book. So thank you guys for watching or listening. Peace out.